If one day you find yourself face to face with a strange creature with oval-shaped hooves, long tails, long slender legs, muscular build, long thick necks, and a large elongated head, you might just have stumbled upon a horse.
Horses!
There is hardly any wargaming system out there that does not include horses. So, chances are that you are finding yourself painting a horse from time to time. Maybe you need a little inspiration for some simple colors, or maybe you're just getting started on your wargaming equestrian journey, and would like some pointers on color choice. If so, this video is for you. Welcome. The models I'll be painting for this video are from the Kingdom of Bretonnia Mounted Yeomen set. These horses are quite old, produced back in 1991, in a time where contrast paints and, well, simple shading was a thing of pure magic. The color variants I used throughout this video can be applied to any horse from any wargaming system. I'll have a bit more to say after the tutorials. Let's paint! Okay, let's begin. The first horse will be really simple. I'm going for a white color, and I've undercoated this one in grey cere. So to start with, I'm taking a contrast paint, Apothecary White, I believe it's called, and just smother this all over. Including the tail. The contrast paint is dry and has added some, well, contrast. Next step is to add a layer, and I'm using white scar. If you think that white scar is too white, you can use Corax white instead. I'm just adding this all over and avoiding the recesses. Also, I'm not touching the mane or the tail because I'm using a Praxetti white to dry brush that in a moment. You can also use white scar to dry brush with if you prefer. It's entirely up to you. Just take your time and add a second coat if you feel you need to. As I said, next up is Praxetti White. This is for the hair. And after that, you certainly got a white horse. Now let's paint a dark brown horse. I've undercoated this model in Chaos Black, and I'm beginning with a base coat of Rhinox hide. And now we have a dark brown horse, but we're going to take this further. Next I'm applying a layer of Doombull Brown. Just apply this all over, but avoid the recesses. and always remember to thin your paints. It's better to add 2 thin coats than 1 thick one. I am not applying this to the hair. And there we are, the layering is complete. Now I want to darken it down a bit further and make it more defined, so I'm adding an all over shade of Agrath Earth Shade. Straight from the pot. I'm being very liberal with this. I'm also shading the hair. The shade is dry, and not only has it added some definition, it has also provided us with some markings. So I want to take that further with some Nuln Oil. Wherever you want some markers, markers, blemishes, what's it called? You know what I mean. Add some Nuln Oil, and if you want it to be darker than the result you get, just add another layer of Nuln Oil. For example, right here. I want this to be dark. And here. I'll let them dry and give one of them a second coat. I'll be right back. The shade is now dry, and I ended up using a single coat on his forehead and 2 coats on his hind leg. You can use as much or as little of this as you want. You can also experiment with other types of shades. Next I'm going to add some highlights, and I'm using Tuscarora Fur. I'll be highlighting things such as the lips, the nostrils, the eyebrows, the side of the ears, some of the muscles maybe. Yeah. Just like this. Make it look more defined. So I've ended up highlighting most of the muscles and the face. Next I'm going to highlight all the hair. I'm still using Tuscarora Fur, but this time I'll apply it as a dry brush. When the paint is dry, we are ready to paint the rest of the details. But not for you and I. We are moving along to horse number 3. For this next horse we are going for a yellow-brown. I'm starting with a base coat all over with the XV88. And as always, it's better to use 2 thin coats than 1 thick one. Oh, and I've undercoated the model with Corax White. The base coat is now dry and it looks like, well, mustard. But we're going to remedy that. Now I'm adding a shade of Seraphim Sepia all over. and I'm being quite liberal with this coat. Just make sure you give it plenty of time to dry. The Seraphim sepia is dry and we have some really nice definition right now. Next I'm going to add a layer and I'm using Baylor Brown. So paint this all over except the recesses. Oh, and I'm not painting the hair. You might need a couple of coats of this. Might. And with that, the layering is complete. Next I'm adding a highlight of Samesi Desert, only to the most raised areas, such as maybe the knees here. And the ears, eyes, nose, nostrils, mouth, yeah. Like so. Do this all over the model where you find it most appropriate. I may have went a little overboard with the highlighting. I highlighted practically every muscle and the throat and his hind and you name it. You can do as little or as much of this as you want. Next I'm taking some terminated stone and dry brush all the hair. And after that I'll call this model done. Or at least the skin color. In this fourth chapter of our equestrian journey, we are painting a dirty black horse. And I'm starting with the base coat of Abaddon Black. Well, you might have noticed that this horse is black already. I've undercoated it in Chaos Black, but Abaddon Black has a more matte finish, and I prefer that. So, a base coat of Abaddon Black it is, all over. The paint is dry and I hope the camera picks it up, but I certainly see a difference. It's much more matte now. So the next step is to add a shade of Nuln Oil all over. I'm being quite generous with this. Just remember to give it plenty of time to dry. The shade is now dry and I'm ready to add a layer, and I'm using Skavenblight Dinge. Remember to thin your paints. I'm adding this all over except the recesses. And I'm not painting the hair. The layer has now been added and it is dry. So next I'm going to add a highlight of Stormwomen fur. This is to all the most extreme muscles and their ears, eyelids, nostrils, mouth, like this. Practically wherever you think it's most appropriate. And I'm still not touching the hair. Just take your time and go over the model and apply it where you think it's most necessary. The horse has now been highlighted. I went a little overboard with this, but you can do as much or as little of this as you want. Now to finish off this model, I'm using a dry brush of Terminator Stone on the hair only. And for our final horse, I'm going for a grey color. Now I've used mechanical standard grey to undercoat this, and normally I start by using a base coat, but I am satisfied with this color, so other than touch-ups where the primer missed, I'm not going to add a base coat. I'm going straight to the shading, and I'm using non-oil all over. Give it plenty of time to dry. The shade is dry and we're ready to move on to the next step. Now for the next step I'm using Dawnstone, and there are two variants of Dawnstone made by Games Workshop. If you want quick results, I recommend that you dry brush on some Dawnstone. But I'm not going to do that. I'm using the regular Dawnstone, and I already got some on my palette. It has been thinned down with water, and I'll apply it everywhere on the model except the recesses. Oh, and I'm not painting the hair. You might want 2 coats for this to cover perfectly. I ended up layering it 2 times. Now we got a fine looking grey horse. But I really want to make it, well, pop. So I'm adding a highlight of Administratum Grey. You can use as little or as much of this as you want. I'm highlighting the most, what's it called? Visible muscles, such as these ones. And also the ears, the eyes, the nostrils, the mouth. Knees, anything you'd like really. And I'm still not painting the hair. And just like that, the horse has been highlighted. Now to finish it all off, I'm going to dry brush all the hair using Longbeard Grey. Remember the hair around the hooves. And just like that, we got 5 variants of horses. I hope you found this video useful and maybe could apply this to some of your own models. I went ahead and painted the rest of the model off-cam because that was beyond the scope of this video. If you see anything you'd like, I'll be happy to explain it to you in the comments how I went ahead and painted them. Now, as you can see, I added some tufts and flowers, and well, these particular flowers, they come apart quite easily. So I did something that I usually never ever do. I varnished using Citadel's Munitorium varnish. Usually I varnish by hand, but I was hoping that the spray would make a seal or a bond around the flowers and the grass to stop it from falling off, and I think I've succeeded in that. Now, these steps I made in this video are quite simple. You can always mix and match whatever you like. Maybe you'd like a white horse with a black tail, for example, instead of just a pure white and a pure brown, etc, etc. You can do whatever you'd like, really, and yeah, mix and match however you feel like. Now, the metal parts, there aren't many, but there are a few. I painted those after I used the varnish because I don't like that the metal gets such a matte look after it's been varnished. That's why when I varnish by hand, I usually avoid the metal to make it shine more. Anyways, if you like this video, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell. Happy painting!